I was standing in the groom suite at the Mayflower Hotel in Washington, D.C., adjusting my bow tie for the 100th time. In exactly 10 minutes, I would walk down the aisle to marry the love of my life. 200 guests were seated in the ballroom. The string quartet was playing. My parents were crying happy tears. My best man was cracking jokes to calm my nerves. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, my fiancée. "I need to see you. Right now. Before the ceremony. It's important." I smiled. She probably wanted one of those romantic pre-wedding moments. Maybe she was feeling emotional and wanted to tell me how much she loved me. I slipped out of the groom suite and met her in a private room down the hall. She was already there, still in her robe, her makeup done but tears streaming down her face. "Baby, what's wrong?" I reached for her. She stepped back. "Michael, I have to tell you something. I should have told you months ago. But if I don't say it now, I'll never forgive myself. But okay." "What is it?" She took a shaky breath. "The baby. Jackson. He's not yours." The world stopped. "What?" "Jackson is not your son. I cheated on you 2 years ago. I got pregnant, and I let you think he was yours. Our son. The 18-month-old boy I'd been raising. The child I'd held in the delivery room. Who called me Dada? Who had my eyes, or so I thought. Not mine, Sarah." I couldn't breathe. "What are you saying?" "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But I can't marry you with this lie between us." 10 minutes before our wedding, she confessed. And my entire life shattered like glass. Let me take you back to how this all started. Because nobody begins their story thinking it'll end in devastation. 3 years ago, I met Sarah Richardson at a rooftop bar in Georgetown. I was a 29-year-old financial analyst at Morgan Stanley. She was a 27-year-old graphic designer at a boutique agency. She had this laugh, this incredible, uninhibited laugh that made everyone around her smile. Long dark hair, bright green eyes, and a confidence that drew people to her. We talked for 4 hours that night. About everything. Travel, family, our dreams, our fears. By the time the bar closed, I knew I'd met someone special. We started dating immediately. The relationship was easy in a way nothing had ever been before. She got along with my friends. My parents adored her. Her family welcomed me with open arms. 6 months in, we moved in together to a nice 2-bedroom apartment in Arlington. She kept her vintage record collection there. I brought my book collection. We adopted a rescue dog named Biscuit. It was perfect. Genuinely perfect. A year into our relationship, Sarah sat me down with a serious expression. "I need to tell you something." My heart jumped. "Okay, I'm pregnant." The news hit me like a truck. We hadn't been trying. We'd been careful, or so I thought. But looking at her nervous face, waiting for my reaction, I felt this overwhelming wave of emotion. That's amazing." I pulled her into my arms. "We're having a baby." She cried with relief. "You're not mad?" "Mad? Sarah, I love you. I want to spend my life with you. This just means we're starting our family a little sooner than planned." That night, I proposed. Nothing fancy, just me, her, and a ring I bought from a vintage jewelry store in Old Town Alexandria. She said yes. The pregnancy was hard on her. Morning sickness that lasted all day, fatigue, mood swings. But I was there for everything. Every doctor's appointment, every ultrasound, every 2 a.m. craving for pickles and ice cream. When Jackson was born, 8 pounds, 3 ounces, perfect in every way, I held him in the delivery room and felt a love I didn't know was possible. He had these tiny fingers that wrapped around mine, dark hair like Sarah's, and his eyes. I swore they were my blue-gray eyes. "He looks just like you," Sarah whispered, exhausted but glowing. "He has your nose," I said, kissing her forehead. Everyone commented on it. "He's got Michael's eyes." "That's definitely a Brooks chin." "Look at those eyebrows, pure Michael." I believed it all. For 18 months, I was Jackson's father. I changed diapers at 3 a.m. I sang him to sleep. I taught him to clap his hands. I watched him take his first steps while Sarah was at work, and I recorded on my phone crying like a baby myself. During this time, Sarah and I planned our wedding. We decided to wait until Jackson was old enough that he wouldn't cry through the ceremony. We booked the Mayflower Hotel for October 15th, a Saturday evening, 200 guests, a band, an open bar, the works. We spent months planning every detail. My best friend Marcus was my best man. Sarah's sister Emma was maid of honor. Jackson would be our adorable ring bearer in a tiny tuxedo. The night before the wedding, we had our rehearsal dinner at a restaurant in DuPont Circle. Both families were there. Friends flew in from across the country. My father gave a toast to Michael and Sarah. "Watching you two become parents this past year has been one of the greatest joys of my life. Jackson is lucky to have you both. Here's to a lifetime of happiness." Everyone raised their glasses. Sarah smiled, but there was something in her eyes, something I couldn't quite read. "You okay?" I whispered. "Just emotional," she said, squeezing my hand. "Happy tears." I believed her. If you're watching, hit that subscribe button because what happens next will leave you absolutely speechless. Now we're back to the moment that destroyed everything. Standing in that private room at the Mayflower Hotel. Sarah in her robe, makeup ruined by tears. Me in my tuxedo, the world tilting off its axis. Jackson is not your son. The words echoed in my head, but they didn't make sense. Like someone speaking a foreign language. That's not possible. My voice didn't sound like mine. I was there when he was born. He has my eyes. He doesn't. Sarah's voice broke. Everyone just saw what they wanted to see. You included. Woo. The word came out strangled. Who is his father? Sarah looked at the floor. Do you remember when you went to that finance conference in San Francisco? 2 years ago? You were gone for 5 days? I remembered. March 2022. A conference on emerging markets. I'd been gone Monday through Friday. I went out with some friends from work, Sarah continued. We went to this bar in Adams Morgan. I got drunk. Really drunk. And there was this guy. Stop. I held up my hand. I don't want to hear this. His name was Tyler. He was a bartender there. It was one night, Michael. One stupid, drunk mistake. I woke up the next morning hating myself. I swore I'd never tell you because it meant nothing. It was just nothing? I laughed, but it sounded insane. You cheated on me and got pregnant, but it was nothing? I didn't know I was pregnant until 6 weeks later. When I found out, I didn't know who the father was. It could have been you. Could have been? We were still sleeping together. The timing. It was possible it was yours. I prayed it was yours. And when everyone kept saying Jackson looked like you, I convinced myself it was true. But you knew. My voice was shaking. You knew there was a chance. I hoped. When did you know for sure? I cut her off. When did you know he wasn't mine? Sarah's silence was the answer. You tested him. The realization hit me. You did a paternity test. 3 months ago. Fresh tears spilled down her face. I ordered one online. I couldn't live with the uncertainty anymore. The results came back. 0% probability that you're Jackson's biological father. 3 months. I stepped back. You knew for 3 months and said nothing? We've been planning this wedding. My voice broke. I've been raising a child that isn't mine, and you knew. I wanted to tell you. I tried so many times, but every time I started, I'd see how much you love him, how happy we were, and I'd convince myself that biology doesn't matter, that you're his father in every way that counts. My voice turned cold. Don't you dare tell me what counts. You lied to me. For 18 months, you let me believe I was his father. You let my parents think they had a grandson. You let me fall in love with him knowing he might not be mine. And when you found out for sure, you still said nothing. I was scared. Of what? Losing me? Losing this? I gestured around at the hotel. You should have been scared. You should have told me the second you found out you were pregnant that there was any doubt. I know, Sarah sobbed. I know I should have. I was selfish and cowardly and I made the worst decision of my life. But Michael, you love Jackson. You love him so much. That doesn't have to change. Everything has changed, I shouted. Do you understand that? Everything I thought I knew is a lie. My son isn't my son. My fiancée isn't who I thought she was. Our entire relationship is built on deception. We can get through this. Get through this? I stared at her in disbelief. Sarah, our wedding is in 8 minutes. 200 people are waiting in that ballroom. My mother is probably crying. Your father is ready to walk you down the aisle. And you're telling me this now? I couldn't marry you with this secret. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. I couldn't stand at that altar and promise to be honest and faithful when I've been lying to you for so long. You deserve the truth. I deserved the truth 2 years ago. We stood in silence, the sound of the string quartet drifting through the walls. A knock at the door. Marcus's voice. Mike? Everything okay? We need to start seating people. I couldn't move. Couldn't think. Sarah looked at me with desperate eyes. What do we do? I don't know. My voice was hollow. I have no idea. Make sure you're subscribed because this gets even more devastating. Marcus knocked again. Mike? Seriously, man, you okay in there? I opened the door a crack. Give me 5 more minutes. The coordinator is freaking out. We're supposed to start in 5 minutes. I shut the door. I turned back to Sarah. My mind was racing, trying to process, trying to understand. Does he know? I asked. Tyler. The bartender. Does he know he has a son? No. I never told him. I don't even know his last name. It was one night, Michael. I never saw him again. So Jackson has a father out there who doesn't even know he exists. You're his father. I'm not. The words tore out of me. Biologically, I'm nothing to him. I'm just some guy you lied to. Sarah flinched. That's not fair. You raised him. You're the only father he knows. Stop saying that like it makes this okay. I was pacing now, my hands shaking. Do you understand what you've done? Not just to me, but to Jackson? What happens when he's older and wants to know about his heritage? His medical history? What if he needs a kidney transplant and I can't donate because I'm not his father? We can deal with that if. If? There's no if. This is reality, Sarah. You cheated. You got pregnant. You lied. And now a child exists who will grow up with this hanging over him. So what are you saying? Sarah's voice turned sharp. You want to abandon him? Walk away from an 18-month-old because he doesn't share your DNA? The question hit me like a physical blow. Because the truth was, I didn't know. I loved Jackson. God, I loved that kid more than my own life. The thought of not seeing him, not being his dad, not watching him grow up, it was unbearable. But how could I stay? How could I look at Sarah every day knowing what she'd done? How could I raise another man's child while the betrayal ate me alive? I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know what I want. Then what do we do right now? Sarah gestured toward the door. We have 200 people waiting. I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd planned to marry, the mother of the child I'd raised as my own. She'd destroyed everything, but she'd also given me Jackson. How do you weigh that? Another knock. This time it was the wedding coordinator, her voice tense. Mr. Brooks, we really need to start. The guests are getting restless. I made a decision. We're canceling the wedding. Sarah's face went white. What? I can't marry you today. Not like this. Not with all of this hanging over us. I moved toward the door. I'll go tell everyone there's been a medical emergency. Food poisoning or something? We'll reschedule. Michael. I need time to think, Sarah. Time to process. I can't make a life-altering decision in a hotel room with 200 people waiting for me to say I do. And Jackson? Her voice trembled. What about Jackson? I closed my eyes. I don't know. I walked out of that room and straight to the ballroom. The ballroom looked like a fairy tale. White roses everywhere. Candles. Elegant place settings. A dance floor ready for our first dance. 200 faces turned toward me as I walked in. My mother. My father. Sarah's parents. Our friends. Colleagues. Extended family who'd flown in from across the country. They saw me alone, without Sarah. And confusion rippled through the crowd. I grabbed the microphone from the bandleader. Hi everyone. Thank you all for being here today. It means the world to Sarah and me that you travel to celebrate with us. My voice was surprisingly steady. Unfortunately, we're going to need to postpone the ceremony. Sarah's not feeling well. We think it might be food poisoning from the rehearsal dinner. She's pretty sick, and we don't want to risk her passing out during the ceremony. Gasps, murmurs, concern. We're so sorry for the inconvenience. Please enjoy the reception, the food, the open bar, everything we planned. Consider it a party. We'll reschedule the actual wedding and let everyone know the new date. I handed the microphone back and walked off before anyone could ask questions. My mother caught me in the hallway. Michael, what's really going on? Not now, Mom. Is it cold feet? Second thoughts? You can tell me. Mom. I looked at her. Please. Not now. She saw something in my face that made her step back. Okay, but we're here when you're ready to talk. I went back to the groom's suite. Marcus was there, waiting. What the hell just happened? He demanded. I couldn't tell him. Not yet. So I lied. Sarah and I had a fight. A bad one. We need time to cool off. Marcus studied my face. Mike, you look like someone died. What did you fight about? I can't talk about it right now. Okay. Marcus put a hand on my shoulder. What do you need? I need to get out of here. We left through a service exit. I went back to the apartment in Arlington, the one Sarah and I shared. The one filled with Jackson's toys and family photos and the life we'd built together. I walked into Jackson's room. He was at Sarah's parents' house, thank God. I couldn't face him right now. His crib. His stuffed animals. The mobile-eyed hung above his bed. The growth chart on the wall marking every inch he'd grown. Not my son. I sat on the floor of his room and finally let myself break down. Sarah came home 3 hours later. The guests had dispersed. The party that should have been our wedding reception had fizzled into awkward conversations and speculation. She found me still sitting in Jackson's room. Michael. Where is he? Still at my parents'. I told them we needed tonight alone. Good. Sarah sat down across from me on the floor. We sat in silence for a long time. I'm sorry, she finally said. I know that's not enough. I know sorry doesn't fix this, but I need you to know that I love you. I've always loved you. What happened with Tyler was a drunken mistake that I've regretted every single day since. But not enough to tell me the truth. I was scared. Scared of losing you. Scared of losing our family. Scared of Jackson growing up without a father. He has a father, I snapped. Some bartender in Adams Morgan. Maybe you should go find him. He doesn't know Jackson. Doesn't love him. You do. You're the one who walks him to sleep at 2 a.m. You're the one who makes him laugh. You're the one he calls Dada. The word Dada broke something in me. That makes it worse, I said quietly. Don't you understand? It makes it so much worse. If I didn't love him, I could just walk away. But I do love him. And now I have to choose between raising a child who isn't mine while living with a woman who betrayed me, or walking away from a kid who thinks I'm his father. Or, Sarah said carefully, we could go to counseling. Work through this. Stay together for Jackson. Stay together for Jackson. I laughed bitterly. That's what failing marriages do, Sarah. They stay together for the kids and end up miserable. So that's it? You're leaving? I don't know. I stood up, frustration pouring out. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to process this. Every time I look at Jackson, am I going to see your betrayal? Every time you kiss me, am I going to wonder if you're thinking about him? How do we come back from this? I don't know, Sarah admitted, but I want to try. I want to fight for us. You should have fought for us 2 years ago. I grabbed my jacket. I need space. I'm staying with Marcus for a while. What do I tell Jackson? The question stopped me at the door. I don't know. Tell him Daddy's working. Tell him whatever you want. You're good at lying. I regretted the words the second they left my mouth, but I couldn't take them back. I left. If you're still watching, please hit that subscribe button. This story is far from over. I stayed at Marcus's place in Silver Spring for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of barely sleeping, barely eating, replaying every moment of my relationship with Sarah, looking for signs I'd missed. Had there been clues? Red flags I'd ignored? I remembered that week I'd been at the conference. When I'd called Sarah from San Francisco, had she sounded different? Guilty? I couldn't remember. I'd been so focused on the conference, on networking, on my career. Meanwhile, she'd been in bed with some bartender. Marcus tried to help. He brought me food I didn't eat, beer I drank too much of. He listened when I needed to talk and left me alone when I didn't. What would you do? I asked him one night. If you were me? Marcus took a long drink of his beer. Honestly? I don't know, man. That's an impossible situation. That's not helpful. Okay, you want honesty? Marcus leaned forward. If Jackson wasn't in the picture, I'd tell you to leave. What Sarah did is unforgivable. She cheated, got pregnant, and lied for almost 2 years. That's not a mistake, that's a pattern of deception. But Jackson is in the picture. And you're his dad in every way that matters. So the question isn't whether you can forgive Sarah. It's whether you can walk away from your son. He's not my son, bullshit. Marcus's voice was firm. DNA doesn't make you a father. Being there does. You've been there since day one. You're his father, Mike. The question is whether you're going to let Sarah's betrayal take that away from you. His words hit me hard. That night, I did something I should have done weeks ago. I called a lawyer. The lawyer's name was Patricia Chen. She specialized in family law and came highly recommended. I sat in her office in downtown DC and told her everything. She listened without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me seriously. This is complicated, Michael. Legally complicated. How? You've been acting as Jackson's father for 18 months. You're on the birth certificate, correct? Yes. You've been financially supporting him? Living with him? Making medical decisions for him? All of it. Patricia nodded. Then in the eyes of the law, you're his presumed father. Even if a paternity test proves otherwise, you could still be held legally responsible for him. What does that mean? It means if you decide to leave, Sarah could sue you for child support. Because you've established a parental relationship with Jackson, the court could rule that you're financially responsible regardless of biology. The irony was crushing. So I'm trapped? Not trapped, but you have obligations. The courts prioritize the best interests of the child. And right now, you are Jackson's father in every legal sense. What if I want custody? Patricia raised her eyebrows. You want custody of a child who isn't biologically yours? I don't know what I want. I'm trying to understand my options. Custody would be difficult without Sarah's cooperation. She's the biological mother. Unless you can prove she's unfit, which I don't think you can, she'd have primary custody rights. You could potentially get visitation, but I'd have to stay in Jackson's life in some capacity. Yes. I left that office more confused than when I'd entered. The legal reality was clear. I couldn't just walk away, even if I wanted to, and I didn't know if I did. Jackson was legally mine now. That night, I made a decision. I called Sarah. I want to see Jackson. Sarah brought Jackson to a park in Arlington the next day. Neutral territory. I saw them from across the playground. Sarah was holding Jackson's hand as he toddled toward the swings. He was wearing the little dinosaur jacket I'd bought him. When Jackson saw me, his face lit up. He broke free from Sarah and ran toward me on his chubby toddler legs, arms outstretched. I caught him and lifted him up, and he wrapped his arms around my neck in that perfect toddler hug that makes everything else disappear. Dada. I missed you. I missed you too, buddy. Sarah watched from a distance, tears in her eyes. I spent an hour playing with Jackson, pushing him on the swings, helping him down the slide, chasing him around the playground while he shrieked with laughter. And I realized something. This kid didn't ask to be born. He didn't ask for his mother to make the choices she made. He was innocent in all of this. And he loved me. Completely, unconditionally, the way only a child can love. Did it matter that we didn't share DNA? When Sarah and I finally sat on a bench while Jackson played in the sandbox, I spoke. I've thought about this constantly for 2 weeks, and I keep coming back to the same question. What kind of man do I want to be? Sarah waited, not interrupting. Do I want to be the kind of man who walks away from a child because of something his mother did? Or do I want to be the kind of man who steps up, even when it's hard? Michael? I'm not finished. I looked at Jackson, who was completely absorbed in building a sandcastle. I love that kid. I've loved him since the moment he was born. And that doesn't change just because I found out we don't share blood. Hope flickered in Sarah's eyes. But, I continued, I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. I don't know if I can look at you without remembering what you did. The hope dimmed. So here's what's going to happen, I said. I'm going to stay in Jackson's life. I'm his father. That's not negotiable. But you and me? That's over. The wedding is canceled. The engagement is off. We're done. Michael. I'll move out. We'll figure out custody arrangements. I'll see Jackson as much as possible. But I can't be with you, Sarah. I can't marry someone who lied to me for 2 years. I just can't. Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand. Do you? Yes. She wiped her eyes. I destroyed us. I know that. And I'll spend the rest of my life regretting it. But thank you for not abandoning Jackson. Thank you for being the man I always knew you were. I stood up. I'll come by tomorrow to get my stuff. We can work out a schedule. Okay. I walked over to Jackson. Hey buddy, Daddy has to go. But I'll see you really soon, okay? Okay, Dada. He hugged me again. Love you. Love you too, Jackson. So much. I walked away from that playground feeling like I'd aged 10 years. My relationship with Sarah was over. But my relationship with Jackson? That was just beginning in a new way. Stay with me because the real ending is coming and it's not what you expect. It's been 6 months since the wedding that didn't happen. Sarah and I worked out a custody arrangement. I have Jackson every weekend and 2 nights during the week. It's not perfect, but it works. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in Ballston. Smaller than our old place, but it's mine. I set up a corner of the bedroom for Jackson. A toddler bed, his favorite toys, his stuffed animals. When he stays with me, we have our routine. Saturday morning pancakes, trips to the zoo, reading books before bed. He still calls me Dada. That hasn't changed. What has changed is everything else. Sarah and I are civil. We co-parent effectively. We communicate about Jackson's needs. But the love is gone. The trust is gone. We're just 2 people sharing responsibility for a child. I went to therapy. A lot of therapy. My therapist helped me work through the anger, the betrayal, the grief of losing the life I thought I'd have. You're allowed to mourn what you lost, she told me. The relationship. The dream of the nuclear family. All of it. But I'm also allowed to choose Jackson. I said yes. Those things can both be true. Last week, I had coffee with my mom. She's been supportive through all of this, even though I know she's disappointed about the wedding being canceled. I'm proud of you, she said out of nowhere. For what? For choosing to be Jackson's father even after everything that happened. A lot of men would have walked away. You didn't. I couldn't, I said simply. He's my son. Yes, he is. I've started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I went on a few dates with a woman named Andrea who works in my building. She knows about Jackson, knows the whole story. She thinks it's admirable that I stayed in his life. A lot of guys would have bailed, she said on our 3rd date. I'm not a lot of guys. She smiled. No, you're not. Yesterday, I took Jackson to his pediatrician for his 2-year checkup. The doctor asked about family medical history. I need to be honest with you, I said. I'm not his biological father. His mother had an affair, and I'm not sure how to get information about his biological father's medical history. The doctor nodded professionally. That's more common than you'd think. We'll note it in his file. If any issues come up that require genetic information, we'll deal with it then. But for what it's worth, the doctor added, Jackson's a lucky kid. He's healthy, happy, and clearly loved. That matters more than genetics. I held Jackson's hand as we left the office, and I realized something. I'd spent so much time focused on what I'd lost, Sarah, the wedding, the vision of our perfect family, that I'd almost missed what I'd gained. I gained clarity. I know who I am now. I'm a man who chooses integrity over comfort, who stays even when it's hard, who loves a child unconditionally. I gained strength. Going through this broke me, but I rebuilt myself into someone better. And I gained Jackson. Not in biology, but in every way that actually matters. Last night, I was putting Jackson to bed at my apartment. He was drowsy, clutching his stuffed elephant. Dada? Yeah, buddy, love you. Love you too, Jackson. He fell asleep holding my hand, and I realized, I didn't lose everything that day at the Mayflower Hotel. I lost Sarah. I lost the illusion of a perfect life. But I kept the thing that mattered most. 3 weeks ago, I got a strange message on LinkedIn from someone named Tyler Morrison. Hey man, this is going to sound weird, but I used to bartend at a place in Adams Morgan a few years back. I recently did a 23andMe DNA test and got a notification about a potential close relative, a child. The system showed me a partial profile that led me to Sarah's account. I think we need to talk. My blood ran cold. Jackson's biological father had found us. I called Sarah immediately. Did you do a 23andMe for Jackson? My mom did, Sarah admitted. Last Christmas. She wanted to see his ethnic breakdown. Why? Tyler found him. Through the DNA database. He wants to talk. Silence. What do we do? Sarah asked. I don't know, but I'm not losing my son. We haven't responded to Tyler yet. I'm meeting with Patricia Chen again tomorrow to discuss our legal options. The truth is, I don't know how this ends. Maybe Tyler wants to be involved in Jackson's life. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe this gets complicated in ways I can't even imagine yet. But here's what I do know. I'm Jackson's father. I've earned that title through 2 a.m. diaper changes and toddler meltdowns and reading the same book 40 times in a row because it's his favorite. Biology might say otherwise. But love? Love says I'm his dad. And whatever happens next, that's not changing. My name is Michael Brooks. I'm 32 years old. I'm a single father to an amazing 2-year-old boy. And 10 minutes before my wedding, my whole life fell apart. But maybe it fell apart so it could be rebuilt into something real. Thank you for staying with me through this entire story. I know it was heavy, and I appreciate you being here. This story is a reminder that life doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes the person you trust most betrays you. Sometimes the truth comes out at the worst possible moment. Sometimes you have to make impossible choices. But it's also a reminder that love isn't always about biology. It's about showing up, being present. Choosing to stay even when leaving would be easier. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have stayed for Jackson? Would you have tried to work it out with Sarah? Let me know in the comments. If this story resonated with you, please consider sending a super thanks. Your support helps me bring more real-life stories to this channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. There are more stories coming that will make you think, feel, and question everything you thought you knew about relationships and family. On your screen right now, you'll see 2 more videos I think you'll love. Real stories about real people facing impossible situations. Thank you again for being here. See you in the next story.